I'm very good at using the free points I get when I'm not paying attention and someone just says, do you want money off of this?
Sure.
Which I think is great for me, but terrible for the reasons that they have this plan in the first place.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make me change my buying habits at all.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. Heisler approved, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Dal.
Dal.
W. Dal Bush.
Now, I know this is episode 715 of Contest of Challengers.
You don't have to tell me.
And I know that it is the start of a brand new episode, like not last week's, not the week's before's, this week's. We haven't even recorded it yet. We're about to record it.
Yep.
Yet it's going to sound staggeringly familiar because we have an update
I love staggering familiarity.
on our fun times with Diamond Comic Distributors.
Yeah, which is now kind of broken containment into the larger comics blogging sphere as more sites are starting to cover retailers complaining about these things and kind of aggregating that information and saying, hey, this is a kind of big problem that's happening to the comics industry as a whole. Like, it's affecting publishers, it's affecting stores, it's affecting readers, it's affecting, obviously, a distributor.
Truck drivers.
Sure.
I just wanted to get one in there.
It's a good one.
Thanks.
Always forget about the truck drivers.
Basically, no change. We have gotten Diamond product this past week, but it was for the previous week.
Yeah, stuff is staggering out, but it's not catching up. It's just, you're still behind by like a week.
And it's coming out at random times as opposed to in time for Wednesday release date.
Yeah, or even, here's one shipment of X amount of days from now. That one shipment is now probably 2 or 3 shipments of random amounts of stuff.
And even when they update their website with invoicing or shipping manifests, it's still, I don't know when you're getting this.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, I don't want to dump on Diamond with this. I guarantee you that no one at Diamond Comic Distributors is happy with this situation. They're probably more unhappy with it than stores are because they have to bear the responsibility for it and they have to try and fix it. And there's a lot of things happening that they don't have a ton of control over. However, this is still their responsibility. And it means that even if things are happening that are detrimental to them or that they have to work harder to fix, this is still a process that they started. And that's not good.
So ultimately, my feelings on the matter, which are honestly why anybody's here in the first place.
It's why I listen.
That's right. Is I don't really mind it that much.
Yeah.
But here's why. It affects everybody equally.
Right.
This is not a thing that is hurting a part of the country, one warehouse's worth of customers,
right?
Some stores randomly. It's everybody. It is affecting some stores more than others, but
Sure.
Those are the stores that have chosen to get all of their product from Diamond still, to use them as a wholesaler for their Marvel books, their IDW books.
They put all their eggs in one basket, and then that basket stopped showing up on time.
Yeah. So when this affects everybody equally, and this is even a thing where when you've been saying to people, yeah, there's Diamond shipping delays, and I'll chime in, for everyone, not just for us.
Right.
Like I need to make the point that
no store is getting around this.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, Challengers didn't get their City Beneath Their Feet #1 this week. You can go down the block and get it from somebody else. No, nobody has it. That is a distillery book distributed solely through Diamond. You have to get it through Diamond. Nobody has it.
Yeah.
Now, some stores may get it a day or so before the other.
Yeah, there's a range of dates that stores
out.
are getting their Diamond stuff. It could be as early as Wednesday. It could be as late as Friday.
But when this affects everybody, I'm less bothered by it because we're all on the same boat.
Yeah. It's like in times in the past where everyone could only get their stuff through Diamond, and Diamond would say, okay, well, there was a problem with the truck broke down, none of your boxes got to the shipment hub, everyone's books are going to be showing up a day late. It's like, all right, I mean, everyone has to deal with that now, and everyone has to account for that.
But that's not necessarily how it used to be, but depending on if you got your books shipped directly versus...
I'm making it...
Yeah, but I think
it's just the Midwest, but regardless, like for us, I don't... Like, there were times in the past where we would find out that, like, Dark Horse stuff would ship earlier one coast over the other.
Yeah.
But it's, if you want to go a few thousand miles away to go get the new issue of Masterpiece, fine, go ahead. I don't feel like that's going to drastically affect my business. So when I say things like everyone was notified that their books be a day late, yeah, it would be everyone serviced out of, like, one hub or in the Midwest. But for all intents and purposes, for us, that's everybody.
It's an unfortunate situation, and not a situation they thought they'd be in, and they had more information coming out about how this happened and why and how. And, like, honestly, none of it matters so much just because it's happening.
Right.
And like you said, they hate it more than we do.
Yeah, and again, like, to do the other side of it, like, this is a situation they put in motion, and I know they had to do it for financial reasons, and it makes sense. But, like, this is the thing they put forward, and this is the solution they came up with, and that solution then ended up being insufficient. So it's like, there's only so much slack I want to cut them. Like, I'm not super angry at them. I'm not yelling at a rep on the phone or anything. But, like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, you guys, stop being mad at Diamond. Like, no, you can be mad at Diamond.
Sure.
It's fair.
You don't need to be rude to customer service reps or people who's not.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that you need to do something about your anger, but I think it's okay to be angry about the situation.
And I'm sure that the decisions that led to this happening are all from the top.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is closing a warehouse and relocating everything is a very high-level decision. It's not anyone you talk to on the phone at Diamond, this was not their call. So yeah, obviously be polite. If you do have any problems, be polite. But I think at this point, you don't need to call Diamond and complain about the fact that your books are late. They're telling you everyone's books are late. Like, they're trying to fix it. They know it's a problem.
For the current new release list on our website, I always feel like I need to separate the two different ways we have new releases and upcoming releases, because new releases for us pre-Shopify always meant what's coming out next week.
Okay.
Now new releases are the most recently available product on our website, which switches over every Thursday morning.
Which, in fairness, I think is how most people would think of it if you just said, what are new releases? They wouldn't think, like, it's the stuff that's coming out next week. They would think it is the brand new stuff that just came out.
Except for if they go shopping for it on Wednesday morning on our site, they're getting last week's stuff.
Right.
And then what I call the new release list is the stuff that I'm always working on, which is the upcoming things that aren't out yet.
Right.
But what I mean right now is if you go to the new releases list page on our website, not the immediate thing that's on the front page, it lists everything that's coming out for next week, but then there's also a bunch of asterisk graphic novels and single issue comics and even a Dazzler figure that have a little keynote that says leftover from last week.
Upcoming releases, I think is what we call it on the website.
Yeah. But those things were, at the time that list went out, because we've got a schedule, we've got specific times these lists go out on our website in the email. And at the time this list was created, those other books had just come in on Wednesday morning still. It was
before noon.
It was before noon.
Yeah.
But after our Wednesday morning rush had come in.
Yeah.
So while Dal got those books on the shelves as quickly as possible, having to rearrange the wall yet again.
Which, in honesty, I planned ahead.
Yeah.
Like, I did.
You knew they were coming.
Oh, I knew I would have to make space for a whole bunch of stuff.
The cake.
So I arranged the wall in a way where I could very easily create a whole bunch of space.
Well, good work, because you had to.
I had to.
So we put all that stuff up. Then we got an invoice notification from Diamond as to traditionally what would be coming out next Wednesday. But we were also alerted, also by Diamond, ahead of time, that next week's book's probably going to be late.
Yeah.
So there'll most likely be an asterisk keynote again. Footnote? Why am I saying keynote? On the new list saying held over from last week, but still listed so people can see what's there.
Yep.
It just makes retail more exciting because
We do love exciting retail.
we definitely are always bored and need something to shake things up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I thought so too. I'm glad you agree. You know who else is shaking things up?
Who's that?
Saga.
Saga is shaking things up?
Yeah, by only releasing 4 issues this calendar year.
That wasn't great.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, Saga took a 3.5-year break, and then they came back
A
to
nearly
do
snot girl level break.
to do an arc a year, 6 issues a year. And when they came back, they started strong. January, February, March, April, May. I think July was the last one.
Yeah, ran a little late.
Great. So they got 6 out in like 7 months. Great. And then we were told, oh no, this is it. But at that time, we didn't know.
Yeah,
It was an arc a year.
usually before their massive break, what we would get is 6 monthly issues, then about 3 or 4 months off.
But the trade came out in that
The
time
trade would
period.
come out in that gap, and then it would start up with a new run of 6 monthly issues. So in a given year, you might get like 9 issues across 2 different arcs.
Yeah, 8 or
And
9
a
and a trade. Yeah.
Some years you might get 2 trades depending on how things broke down. So when they came back, we sort of just assumed that they would just go back to the same cadence, and they did not.
Well, one of the things Brian K. Vaughan always says, but don't worry, we're working ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And even during the hiatus, he's like, I'm working ahead on these scripts. But now it doesn't feel like that's the case because while they announced that, yeah, they messed up and could only get 4 issues done this year,
Mm-hmm.
the 5th issue, which is 71, is completely finished. But by the time they went to Image and said, hey, this book is ready to go, Image is like, it's too late. The printing presses are already booked through the end of the year because they take a couple weeks off for holidays. So the earliest we can print this is January.
Yeah.
And that doesn't say anything about 72, which would have been the 6th issue for the arc and the year.
Yeah.
But in the same message, Brian said, but don't worry, I'm already hard at work on next year's arc.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
And I got to say from the start, I'm incredibly grateful that Saga still comes out, both as a reader and as a retailer. I still read Saga every month when it comes out. I really enjoy it. I don't think the book has really lost a step coming out of the hiatus, which I think a lot of people were afraid of. As a retailer, the book still sells great. It's maybe lost a little bit of juice, but it's still by far our most subscribed to Image book, by far. We have more subscribers to Image than we do complete sales for any other Image comic.
Saga.
Saga. What did I say?
Image.
No, yeah, that's it. Yeah. We have more subscribers for Saga than we do sales for any other Image book. However, the one thing that kind of keeps coming, sort of percolating, is Brian K. Vaughan says that he's hard at work on scripts. And I don't believe that the problem with all of these delays is that Brian K. Vaughan is having trouble getting scripts done. I think by exclusion, the problem seems to be Fiona Staples' art. And that's not the sort of thing you can fix. Like, you can't replace Fiona Staples. You can't do a fill-in arc. If it's taking her longer to do the book, it's just taking her longer to do the book. And while it's, disappointing that there's delays or whatever, I kind of wish at this point Saga would just say, look, it's going to be 2 months between every issue. Like, this is the second time they've ended up like, things are getting a little stretched out.
Yeah.
And I maybe it's a some sort of personal crisis or something where, somebody had to be someplace at a certain time and a family thing was happening and they just couldn't, and that's fine. And it seems like it's happening often enough with that book, especially counting 3+ years off, that maybe we just need to be more honest about what the release schedule should look like for Saga. If we're going to be doing, 7 more years of this.
And that's what we're at. We're at 7 more arcs, 7 arcs to go.
Right.
And I am forever grateful that this book even exists and that it still comes out.
Sure.
They're only a 3-person team.
Right.
That gets the book written, drawn, colored, painted, lettered, edited, printed out the door.
Yeah. I mean, we still have, on a regular basis, people discovering Saga and blowing through the series, and they're addicted to it. Like, Saga is a book we will probably be able to sell forever. Maybe not at the same level of sales for the graphic novels as we've been able to in the past, but we'll always be able to sell Saga, always. Especially when there's just 2 giant compendiums that you can just pick up and devour.
And honestly, we'll wait as long as we have to. It's not
Yeah.
that we have a choice. It's not like we'll say, forget this, we're never going to order it.
Yeah.
It's just that we got used to a 9-year pattern
Right.
that then, or I'm sorry, 9-volume pattern. I don't know that it wasn't 9 full years because they
I
were
don't know
coming faster.
Maybe.
And then they took their hiatus, which turned into a very long hiatus.
Yeah.
But once they came back, we're like, all right, we're halfway done. We're cruising toward the end now.
Mhm.
And 6 issues and a trade per year isn't asking that much. I mean, look, I don't know how hard everybody works.
Sure.
I don't know if Fiona Staples works like 8 hours a day every day of the week,
Yeah.
every
maybe.
month of the year, or if she gets an arc done and says, I'm taking a month off or whatever.
Maybe.
She deserves to do whatever gets her to finish this book.
Yeah.
But as retailers, when you don't have your number one selling title and you don't even, we already knew that we were not going to get a trade paperback to sell for this year.
Mhm.
And the previous volume, 11, came out just in December of last year.
And
So while we barely had time to sell it, and I guess you could say we had volume 11 sales for this year to coast
I'm sure.
after,
Plenty, probably.
but only having 4 issues.
Yeah. And, speaking as someone who frequently has to contact what we would call delinquent subscribers or deadbeats about subscription orders that have arrived that have not been picked up. Every single time we have to drop subscribers because they have not come in for their books and they will not respond to emails or phone calls. Every single time, it's a bunch of Saga issues. The number of people that just, because they never look at any of the subscription emails that we send out, because they don't go to any sites that talk about comic books or release dates, they have no idea when Saga's back. So they just literally forget about it. They're subscribed to it, and then it doesn't come out for 6 months. And then 3 issues come in over 3 months. And by that point, it's been 9 months since they thought about Saga last, and they're not thinking about it ever again. They may, in a few years, be like, oh, right, Saga. But in general, like, every single time there is a break and a hiatus, this is even pre-pandemic, when the break would just be 3 or 4 months, we would still end up getting halfway into a new arc and have to drop like 3 or 4 different Saga-only subscribers.
Yeah.
Because they just, when it was coming out every month, they would kind of remember every month to get the next issue. And then you give them 3 months off and they forget. And then you give them 4 years off and they forget. And then when it starts being a thing where even when it comes back, it's not coming out on like a regular basis. Again, like if you don't read your notifications, you will just forget. It's not a habit anymore. It's not a regular routine. You just forget about it. And this doesn't matter if you get a bunch of different comics, but the thing with Saga is there's a lot of people that literally only read Saga. That's the only comic book they get. They have no interest in anything else, no other Brian K. Vaughan stuff, no other comic books. They just read Saga. So then when it's not in front of them for enough time, they just completely forget about it. And then we end up having to put out 4 copies of the last 3 issues of Saga, which, frankly, usually go. Because someone else will have forgotten about it and then go to the store and say, oh, I didn't realize Saga was back. I need the last 3 months worth of issues. Here they are.
I do like you added in that line of, if they ignore the notifications.
Because I
Just
mean,
that little, like, we do our part.
yeah, and that's again, it's always a frustrating thing. And even when people are delinquent, it's not like we just look at their stuff and go, it's been 3 months, they haven't come in, everything goes out on the shelf. We send emails saying, hey, first of all, here's like multiple paragraphs explaining what's going on, why you're getting this email, that you haven't come in a while. If you can't come in, we'll send you an invoice. We need these books to get picked up or they're going to go back out. And at the bottom of it, here's what we're holding for you. So you don't just think we're making this all up. Here's how many comics are waiting for you, like 3 issues of Saga.
And that information is always available on your Managed Comics account online.
Right, which no one ever logs into. And then a week after that, if nothing's been picked up, we haven't heard from people, we either give a phone call if we have a phone number, which for most people who sign up directly through Managed Comics, we only have an email address.
Yeah.
So they get a second email saying, these books are going to go back out in a week. You have to buy them. And the majority of Saga-only people never look at any of those emails. And that's it. And that sort of sucks.
Every time Dal goes over a list of subscribers that are no longer subscribers that we've had to let go,
Mhm.
that we've had to break up with, that we've had to fire. Oh, some stores say they fire customers.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Every time he's like, here's who we had to drop this weekend,
Mhm.
there's 3 or 4 people I have to say, who is that?
Yeah,
Names I just don't recognize, faces I've never
Sure.
seen.
Well, the pro and con of having managed comics, the pro is that people can just go to our website, sign up for books, and start getting them, within a month. That's amazing. And we've had so many new subscribers, people that I don't recognize the names. They add a bunch of books. They come in like within a few weeks and they're super excited. Like they get to sign up for whatever they want and they don't have to, like they can do it at home. It's great. The con of that is that we frequently, every cycle that we drop subscribers, there's a couple people where it's like, oh, you signed up on Managed Comics. You had never shopped at our store before. You signed up for a few books. Like we had a subscriber that just did My Adventures of Superman, covers A and B for issues 4, 5, and 6. She never came in, didn't respond to any emails. All those books went back on the shelf. And that's stuff where it's like, we didn't even order the B cover for the shelf.
Correct.
And that's a completed miniseries, which means they're not going to sell. So we just ate six books. And that's, it's one of the downsides. It's just like anybody can sign up. And, I think we try and keep a tighter leash on it. 3 issues of those is a little bit much. But when someone's only signed up for one book, I usually don't want to hound somebody about coming in because they have 4 comics waiting for them.
Yeah.
That's just like, that's not worth my time at that point. But then it gets to 6 and now they're never going to sell. But if I'd done it at 4, then we'd still have 4 that were never going to sell. The only thing I would have, saved early was 2 comic books.
One of the things that we do say to subscribers in these emails where it's like, hey, it's been a minute. We can send you an invoice and you can pay it. We can ship them to you. We can hold the books. Dal likes to say that once the books are paid for, we don't mind holding them.
Patrick does.
It depends on how much stuff it is. Like eventually,
we do need the books to leave eventually. We don't have like limitless space to store people's subscriptions.
We have a box of a drawer box in the back hallway of Shopify orders that have been paid for that people just never came in to get.
And even when we sent them extra notifications saying, hey, it's been like 6 months, your book's here.
Yeah.
And again, like this is the problem with all of this stuff is you can send out 1 million emails. If people never look at them, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Like, and that is one of the most frustrating aspects with trying to get this stuff under control is that in general, the people who look at the emails do respond. They do come in. Like we've got a number of subscribers that on a regular basis need to be notified like, hey, you haven't come in 2 months. Please come in and get your books. And they do because they see that email and they come in like within like 5 days of the email. They come in and they get their stuff.
It's slightly disappointing that adults need to be reminded.
Oh, I never like doing it. Don't get me wrong.
Of a thing that is regular,
right.
not a rare occurrence, but an ongoing concern that you have books you're getting regularly and you know it.
And not to digress further.
Sometimes stop remembering.
Yeah, and not to digress further, but one of the most frustrating elements of that is that we are essentially doing all of this extra work to get people to come in for no extra money.
Correct.
Like, it's not like those books suddenly double in price because we had to do all this extra work. Which maybe we should think about as adding, like, a service fee. Like, oh, did we have to email you and call you to get you to come in? Is my time worth something? I feel like it is.
Years ago, not that many years ago, but I had proposed a situation where you said that's just untenable to manage, is that the longer the books hold, the more there's a fee. Like, oh, if your books are here for 6 weeks, those books every other week, like you add 10% to it.
I thought it was more like your subscription discount evaporates.
Okay, but that
I think it was that.
We had a larger discount then.
If you come in the week of release, the discount is this much, but if you come in a month later, it's this much. Which, yeah, I mean, logistically,
there's no
I
way
have
to
no
police
idea.
that.
You would just be trying to do the math.
There should be a penalty because as we are fond of pointing out, and as Heidi and Josh mentioned on their fill-in episode,
you don't have to remind me,
that we like to call this a loan. We're buying your books for you, and you're paying us back. Now, most loans have interest, but in fact, we're giving you a discount.
Yes.
But when you're making us pay for your books and you don't pay us back for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, that's
I'm going to feel taken advantage of, even
Yeah.
if you're a celebrated cover artist.
To it, I will say that this is a whole different story, unrelated to anything. I emailed them directly last night to say, hey, look, because
you're really killing us
the
here.
last 2 messages I sent via a social media platform,
Uh-huh.
which, for the record, is how we do all of our communication.
Social media platforms?
Me and this particular person.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant as a store, like as a
No.
policy. Like,
No.
we do not.
We definitely don't.
That's incorrect.
But because this is
just how you communicate with them.
with that person, yeah. The last 2 messages that I sent have never been read.
Awesome. Once again, you can send as many messages as you want. People don't read them. They don't read them.
But because this platform shows you
Frustrated.
when they've been read, and I had to say in this email, I messaged you back on November 20th.
Do not want to do a public call out, but maybe that's what happens next.
I messaged you on November 20th, and I can see you've never seen it. So this 3-digit order, and that is quantity and price, has been sitting in the store for almost a month.
Hundreds of dollars.
Which, that's the thing that
in a box
you asked us to
on top
do.
of a shelf.
Yeah. So I mean that regardless of outcome of this particular incident, that ability is now gone.
Oh, it's rescinded.
Rescinded is good. Yeah.
Rescinded.
Yeah.
There's
the next
a favor
request
that we're not doing anymore.
Yeah.
Getting back on the previous topic.
It's always so much extra work for us.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is or who it's for.
Yeah. No, I mean, just in general, like all of the stuff that you have to do to track people down. Again, it's something we've talked about ad nauseum, and that's, we have all these tools where it's like we are putting this information in front of you. We're being conscientious about making sure you know when your books are in or how much is waiting for you. Or again, Manage Comics as a platform and a portal you can go into whenever you want, and it'll go to pulled orders. It'll tell you exactly what's waiting for you and how much it all costs. You can look at your
past orders.
Well, you can look at your subscription lists and look at pre-orders and subscriptions and calculate out what you're going to be spending over the upcoming weeks. Like, this stuff is a godsend compared to how things used to work, where you would just go into the shop and you would never know how much was waiting for you.
Yeah.
Like this, you don't even have to
people,
go in until we tell you the stuff is in. So
we
you
still
don't
have
to just
a
go in and
handful
hope.
of customers who call and say, how much stuff's in my box? You can find out exactly what it is.
Yeah. Go to your account, go to your pulled orders tab. That's how much is waiting for you.
Is this a thing that Managed Comics is eventually going to work on, like have an automatic send me an invoice button?
I've talked to Brian
Managed
about it.
Comics
I don't
about
know if that's going to be imminent, but yeah, definitely a faster way to communicate with people.
I don't even mean a button that they push to get an invoice.
No, just to notify us.
Just
that
to
they want
notify
invoice.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I would not want the former, because we have to make alterations to that.
Yeah.
So if they just generate an invoice, it's like, well, great. I hope you remember what the code is to get your subscriber discount, because it does not automatically add it. I do that by hand. Similarly, if it's getting shipped out and you want bags and boards, I got to do that. That's
and
another thing.
Also, sometimes there's the process. Here's a little inside baseball. The process is sending the email, then jumping onto the back end to add the bags and boards or to take off the discount.
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while, a subscriber is so fast, they pay it before those changes can be made.
That was fun.
I mean, it's happened multiple times.
It has. It used to be worse when we were doing the points program, because I'd have to write down ahead of time how many points people had, and then what sort of discount they could redeem those points for, and then I'd have to generate the invoice, then send an email or like resend the invoice with a thing at the top saying, here's all of the points you've got. If you want to redeem any of the points, please let me know and I'll take them off this order. But I'd have to do that before anybody paid, because then it's like, once you've paid, I can't do the points anymore. Like you've just paid for this order. One thing I'll have to check on the FAQ.
Ours or theirs?
Ours. That I don't know if I put in, and I'll have to check and see if I did or not.
I went over that with a fine-tooth comb, so I'm sure you didn't miss anything, but please go ahead.
A thing about, because I think we have a thing in there where it's like, if you want stuff added to your order, just when you're checking out with something we have in stock, choose local pickup. We'll put it together with your subscription stuff. And then either you can pick it up with your subscription stuff, or if you want it shipped out, it'll go out with your subscription order. I don't remember if I put it on there, and I don't want to check right this second.
I'm pretty sure you did, because you made it a point of saying
No.
that you are buying this and then we're adding it to your stuff.
No, I mean, that
You're not requesting it and we're invoicing
sure,
you
that
for
wasn't
it.
what I was going to say.
Oh.
What I'm not sure if I put on there is there's a deadline where basically if you order stuff for local pickup that's going to go out with your subscription order, you need to do it by, I would say probably, and this is why I don't think I put it on there because I don't think I thought of this strict deadline, Monday at midnight. Anything ordered Tuesday or beyond goes out with your next order the next week.
That is definitely not on there.
Because I am packing stuff up Tuesday, so by the time you get an invoice, that means it's packed up and ready to go. It is difficult, not impossible, but very difficult, and I don't like doing it, to add stuff onto your order after you've already gotten your weekly, monthly, bi-weekly invoice for your subscription stuff. Because again, to get that total, it has to be all done. It's not just, here's a tentative invoice, and then if you want to make changes, this stuff is ready to go. So again, if you want to order stuff, like if you purchase it on our website Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it will go out with the next Tuesday shipments. If you order it on Tuesday, it's not going to go out until next week.
There's
But
been
I think even letting
instances.
people do that, I think is pretty cool.
I think so too.
I do that. I've done that in the past with Ame Ame, which is a Japanese vendor that I will get toys from, because they'll do a thing where it's like you can, if you have pre-orders, your pre-orders go out at the end of the month, and you can basically say, like, if they have stuff in stock, you can say, add this to my monthly order. So then it just goes in with whatever they're holding for you before you end up paying for that. And then you pay for everything at once, and it goes in one box. You can save on shipping.
There have been instances in the past, not often, but occasionally, where somebody winds up buying something on the website, and then 10 minutes later, buying something else, then a little bit later, buying something else, and paying for shipping each time. So if I'm packing stuff up and it hasn't gone out, sometimes I'll be like, all right, I will refund the second shipping and bust open this package, put it in, making sure it doesn't change the shipping weight or whatever.
Right.
But by the third one, it's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like I've already boxed it up. Or there's one time I think they called or emailed saying, can you put these together? I'm like, no, the mail carrier just came.
Yeah.
That's gone.
Sometimes these things go out very fast. This is not like a warehouse where you can order it one day and it will go out the next morning. It's like, we've had instances where people have placed online orders and they've gone out like within an hour, because it's just when the order came in, we packed it up right away. USPS came and picked it up.
Yeah.
Like, we can't guarantee it's going to just sit around for 5 or 6 hours.
I did jinx the USPS, us with the USPS last weekend.
You did.
We had a large pile of boxes. Also,
Every year.
all of my mailed Christmas cards were going out, and they were in a big box. And our favorite postal carrier comes in, and I said, hey, we've got a ton of stuff. Do you want help carrying this to your truck? And she looked at the 2 stacks and said, can I come back? I've just got to finish up this other block, and then I could like pull up and be right in front, because I'm like a half block away. And I said, of course. And then I said out loud to her, when you say you're going to come back, I'm not worried, because I believe you. When any other postal employee says, let me come back, they never come back. So obviously what happened?
She did not come back.
She did not come
She
back.
did not come back.
So that meant I had to schedule a pickup. And then when she came to pick it up the next day, she just walks in with her head really low and just barely says, I'm sorry. And I said, it's fine. You're here now. It's fine.
Right.
I jinxed it by saying how much I trust you
You dummy.
and how great you are. And then I did help her carry everything in the car because there was so much. But that was Saturday. It was last Saturday that everything got picked up. And as of Monday, people started getting their cards.
That's great.
So that's good. That's a plus.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention point systems for a second.
Okay.
Because we were talking about them before.
We were.
And I myself, as a consumer, have enrollment in several customer loyalty programs, reward things.
Same.
But nothing that I've sought out to join, just places that I order from regularly enough that they give them to you. And this is usually
What's the difference? Like, what do you mean sought out to join? Like, what would that be?
like literally, if you're like, oh, I'd like I never asked to do it.
Sure.
Like, okay, let me elaborate.
Sure.
Most of them are fast food places
Sure.
where I'm getting food regularly. Your Dunkin', your McDonald's, and they just give you points when you order.
That's Ami does the same thing.
I
for
never
Japanese food.
asked to join a loyalty reward program with them. Or AMC, you get reward points for.
Regal does it as well. You just accrue points.
Sure, but those two are different because we're paying a fee to be in their subscription service or whatever.
Yeah, but they have levels where it would be free.
Sure.
And I mean, I guess technically you would have to join. I don't know if just having like the app and ordering tickets would be enough, or if you have to have like an account to order tickets online.
But when we had our different levels of loyalty programs, 3 over the years. Remember, we had that separate thing people would come in and tap. And
yeah, that was like a third party that was like, we'll do this. Yeah,
those were things we had to say. Do you want to join this?
Right. I mean, technically, all subscribers were in it by default because it replaced the normal discount.
Yeah, but we made a huge point
we did try and sign other people up.
And how many people just last week alone?
Oh my God!
Came in asking to like, oh, here's my number for points.
It's the most demoralizing thing.
We canceled that 10 months ago.
The whole point of there were 2 main points to the rewards program. 1, getting the people to come in more often, and 2, getting people to getting people's email addresses so we could market to them. So we could let them know about sales, we could let them know about new books, we could let them know about subscription stuff, let them know about events. So what people are telling me when they come in, after we notified them in March that we were closing the points program, is that 1, they haven't been in 9 months. So the loyalty program was not doing anything for us if they were only coming in every 9 months. And additionally, it means that they didn't read any of our marketing information, which means the other reason we would ever have a points program and give away rewards and discounts was absolutely useless. So that was nice to know.
Yeah. And how many times a week do we get a new spam email about, hey, we think Challengers plus Gimme would be a great...
It would not.
Also, Gimme, I think, is a good name for I just made that up on the spot, but I think that's a good name. Yeah. So, like, I will happily redeem points for free stuff. Or Dunkin' is the one I get the most. It's
McDonald's for me.
If you go to Dunkin' 12 times over the span of the month, which I wind up doing, your points are tripled.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I mean, the amount of free stuff I get from Dunkin' on a and when I go to Dunkin' all the time, it's just iced tea and breakfast sandwiches. That's what I'm getting.
I always made out the best with Regal's program because Regal had the same thing where if you go see X amount of movies in like a 12-month period, you get triple points or whatever. And the insane part was that because I was in Regal Unlimited, you would get points for tickets and for concession purchases, but the tickets you weren't paying for, because they were part of your program. So it felt like a weird scam. So I had a billion points, and I was frequently getting like basically free popcorns and sodas. I think it was also during MoviePass. MoviePass, I banked a ton of points because you would absolutely you were paying full price for a ticket.
Yeah.
And then all the other stuff. So maybe that was how it was doing it, was that I wasn't getting the points for the tickets once Regal Unlimited happened, but I had hundreds of thousands of points. And they would expire. But like I eventually just started using them so fast that, I got a lot of free
I was
popcorns
bad
and sodas.
with Regal because you would have to load up your points into your account before you bought stuff. And I'm much better when you're at Walgreens and they say, hey, you've got, $10 worth of points. Do you want to use that? Sure.
Yeah.
Something I never have to keep track of. No. It's there if you go looking for it.
Yeah. AMC is like the Regal thing where you got to go into the app and load it up so that when you scan your code at the checkout, then they'll be like, oh, you have $5. Did you want to use those? Like, yes, that's why I put that on.
Oh, I've had them ask me the one time I've gotten points from AMC. Mm-hmm. I just had them ask me saying, you have enough points. You want a free popcorn?
That's cool. It must have already been on your account somehow.
Okay. So I'm very good at using the free points I get when I'm not paying attention and someone just says, do you want money off of this?
Sure.
Which I think is great for me, but terrible for the reasons that they have this plan in the first place.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make me change my buying habits at all.
Yeah, so I mean, this I think is, speaks to our lack of business acumen or professional skills. You think of it as like, oh, this is going to help you, and then you realize it kind of doesn't. And you start to think, does it work for anybody? Is anybody anywhere going someplace more often or choosing one location over another because of a rewards program or because of like the points they've accrued? And is that like, I don't go to AMC because of the points. I go to AMC because they're a closer theater.
Yeah. You'd be going to them anyway.
Yeah, I take advantage of those programs because I'm going there all the time. Honest to God, we were at Block 37 today, and I saw a sign for the AMC Visa card. And I'm like, oh, you get a bunch of points when you use the Visa card at AMC. If I just use that when I'm checking out for concessions at AMC and that alone,
yeah,
that feels like it'd be valuable. Like, maybe I will do that. So,
well, it's interesting you bring up.
I wouldn't go there to get the Visa card. You know what I mean?
Right. It's interesting you bring up the credit card because I was going to say that the one thing I do know from a lot of responsible adults in my life is people that are very aware of credit card points.
Sure.
And how they
many ways
manage
to game
travel
that system.
or constantly bounce between
zero APRs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is, I'm sure, very helpful to a lot of people. It's just nothing that my brain ever cares about.
No, you got to have that gear that wants to kind of gamify your finances, And if you don't want to put the time in, if you don't feel the rush of like, I moved my balance between 3 different cards and then I ended up with a $50 Visa gift card or whatever, like some of us don't want to do all that.
Like whenever I've got I don't know what bank it is, Bank of America? No, Wells Fargo, a bank credit card that every once in a while says, hey, you've got this many reward points. Do you want to cash it in for an iTunes gift card? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not using that card just to get the points, just to get an iTunes gift card.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, how do those programs become valuable if the majority of people are not altering their behavior in any way to take advantage of it? If they're just redeeming points or whatever, how is that good?
I think the people I know that are really dialed into that are also the kind of people that have stocks and
401ks.
401ks and look into crypto.
Retirement plans.
Yeah. A savings account.
Hope for the future.
Exit strategies. How often do you get that exit strategy email?
A bunch. The amount of junk emails I get that are just the most generic, I found your email address on Shopify emails are borderline insulting. I get a lot of ones for restaurants. I get a lot of ones for taking my brand and getting it in front of more influencers. I get like Shark Tank style stuff where it's like, we can boost it's like, it's a bookstore. There's no product here that we own or can manufacture. It's not what we do at all. But the assumption is that if you're on Shopify, you must be making something.
Yeah. What about our handful of enamel pins?
It's true. Do you want to get the My Parents Are Dead pin on Shark Tank?
I do.
Maybe one of their parents is dead and they'll be like, oh, this speaks to me.
Yeah.
Let's get that in Kroger's across the country. As seen on Shark Tank, my parents are dead.
There's so many avenues that we have available to us from people we know in different industries that were we a bigger store that had working capital, we could do a lot of things that would be Challenger specific.
Sure.
Like we could make our own supplies.
Yeah.
Bags, board, boxes.
Yeah. There's a ton of Chinese manufacturing places that have reached out to comic shops saying like, we can make bags and boards for you and package them and everything.
Yeah.
But you have to order pallets.
Yeah. And
they're not shipping out a case of boards.
Right. It has to be worth the ocean liner freight.
Right.
But we know people that can basically create anything we want. And like 2 years ago, I came up with a plan for a whole new design for comic bags and really looked into it. But for it to be worthwhile to do, it would be a separate company that we'd have to be selling to stores around the world to make production worthwhile.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we found, he says, while tying this back to the first topic of the podcast, is that a lot of comic shops don't want to mess with their status quo, and they're not looking for new ways to do things.
Sure.
They get their books from Diamond. They want to keep getting their books from Diamond.
Yeah, and like I get that. Like there's times that you and I obviously spend a lot of time each week brainstorming and figuring out ways to grow the business and ways to...
Oh man, I appreciate the way you said crying about the future.
Sure.
You really put in a positive spin on it.
I did. I didn't say it the way you would have. But there is something to be said for like, I think a lot of stores, they like the routine. They don't want... And like I think about it sometimes, like a dream store for me is one where I don't have to worry about growing the business, where, money is good and sales are stable, and
you don't have to worry about me saying, can you order less books this week?
And I don't have to worry about you talking about crying about the future. But things where, so I get that. I get stores that are just, they don't want to do things differently because things are comfortable for them and they don't want to make any changes, because part of the reason they run their own business is so it can be comfortable. I don't begrudge that.
Sure.
Even if at times I think it's the amount of change and the fear of it is maybe overblown. I don't think it's the end of the world to get your Marvel books from PRH. Like we complain a lot about how much the check-in time for all of our stuff is like tripled over the week or whatever, but it also means that when Lunar is late, or when Diamond has problems with their warehouses, or when Penguin Random House can't figure out how to pack comic books in a way that keeps them safe over a multi-state travel, it's not all happening at once.
Yeah.
It's not happening to all of your books.
Looking at the amount of time it takes now to unpack, check in, pull, and shelve all the product we get now versus when there was just one distributor.
Yeah.
First of all, it's a little unfair to gauge those because there's more comics coming out now.
Oh my God. We get so many more books.
But it also used to be so much faster when it was just Diamond. But that's not, it's not indicative of the, oh man, I lost my train of thought. I'm saying like it's looking at what we get now and thinking like, how can we ever do this all in one day?
Uh-huh.
Well, the reason it takes so much longer is because you have to do it 3 different times. And it doesn't matter the amount you're doing it for, just having to do it.
Sure. I mean, just unpacking, like shucking basically, like a Lunar shipment takes a while.
We talked about that last week, about how much time is spent just cutting up the boxes for recycling.
Sure.
And I think of that all the time. Like there was a bunch of stuff left over from Tuesday that I was cutting up on Wednesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came back in, you're like, oh yeah, here's what you missed. Like, it's not like I was gone for an hour, but I was back there for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes.
Sure.
And that was only a portion of boxes.
Yeah. I just finished watching The Bear season 3, and there's a thing that comes up a few times, which I thought was really funny and very accurate to all businesses, but I'm sure restaurants as well. They have a continuing thing where people are not cutting up the boxes and putting into the dumpsters. And so there's multiple scenes of characters having to go out there. And my dispute partially is that when characters have to go out there to flatten the boxes, they're like stomping up and down on them. And it's like, nobody would do that. You have a box cutter.
Yeah.
You're just cutting the box and flattening it. Like, you would not just like jump up and down on them. Like, but still, that is a legit thing. The amount of time that we have to spend each week flattening boxes is, if you don't work in a comic shop, it is way more than you think it is. Whatever number you have in your head, change that from minutes to hours. That's more accurate.
For The Bear, was it other people in the restaurant who didn't do it, or people they shared a dumpster with?
Other people in the restaurant.
Okay.
Like the frequent thing was like people claiming like, I do it. And it's like, then why isn't it done? Who's not doing it?
Because I will frequently go to the recycling bin in our building,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is shared with
The whole building.
Yeah, all the tenants
Yeah.
above, and the number of times that
Oh my God.
large boxes are just put in the
Yeah.
recycling bin and take up the whole thing.
Yeah, people got like a delivery of dog food and they just left the giant empty box that the dog food came in the dumpster. And it's like, now it's
So
overflowing. Thank you.
Every
Thank you for that.
every time I take that box out and put it to the side in a, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, I need the space for my flattened boxes.
Yeah. We conscientiously, for the whole building, flatten all of our boxes. So
and
it
the
takes
number
very
of
little space.
Like I make signs that say, here's what you can't recycle. People constantly
No
put
one
like
cares.
all the styrofoam from electronics in the recycling
Much
bin.
like emails, you can't make people read anything.
Yeah, there was one box last Wednesday when I went in, and like over the span of Wednesday, when I kept going back there to throw out more boxes as we got more deliveries,
There were always more boxes.
it just kept filling up with recycling. But somebody put in a giant box, but it was filled with trash.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I can't.
You're not
This
cutting up
box
that
has
box.
to stay full. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't fault them for doing that because we've done that as well.
Sure.
Like with the one box that is filled with all the cardboard inserts or the flattened bubble wrap or whatever. Like if this box is full to the brim, there's no point in
Sometimes 50-50. Sometimes I will dump the box out and then cut the box up.
If it's that full,
Sometimes.
I will allow it. But I mean, the Dogman display box, even though it was only like 3 inches thick, I cut it up,
Sure. Good for you.
flatten it out, tucked it on the side.
I think the only box I will not cut up is when we get posters from Poster Emporium.
I still cut those up.
That box is gigantic in its height and width, but not gigantic in its depth. So I'm just like, what am I saving by cutting? Like, it's a pain to cut down, and then what am I saving? 1.5 inches, 2 inches?
Well, I take out the
I'm okay.
styrofoam inserts and put
Okay.
those in the trash, and then I will cut that up. I guess it just means that I care more than you do.
It definitely does.
Or I'm trying to hide from the store for that much amount of time.
That too.
None of that is true.
Oh my gosh, Patrick, but touching on something you had brought up before.
Yeah.
So many more books that we've had to reorder because it is Christmas season.
Yeah.
This is kind of the worst week as far as deliveries are going to go because we had to place some massive reorders because we're going to have a lot more people coming in for books the week before Christmas, the 18th to the 25th.
God, I hope we do.
And then at that point, we can't get anything more. Like, so we have to have stuff. We have to order stuff now on like the 11th and 12th to have it for like the 18th, 19th, 20th, because that's it. That's kind of all we're getting in for the holidays.
Yeah.
Like some stuff might trickle in like the 23rd and 24th, but I'm not hoping, I'm not optimistic it's going to happen.
One of the things that we did starting last year, we did again this year, and looks like we'll do again next year, is a private shopping event for families that go to Pulaski Middle School in the neighborhood. And what I like about it is that it's usually the first Saturday in December, and the parents, do a ton of buying, but that gives us enough time to restock before Christmas.
Right.
Like if it was this weekend,
oh man,
we would just be empty.
We'd be out of everything, and that's the thing. Like there's like kids books specifically is really what we had to do a larger reorder on this past week.
Yeah.
Because the Sidekicks room got killed. Like there's a lot of just like Dogman volumes we just don't have anymore, and we usually stock at least a couple of each.
But we do have volume 13, the brand new one.
We do. Big Jim Begins, and a nice display for it too that I put together.
Good work.
Thank you.
I thought you were pausing so I could complain about the date on it, but I didn't.
No.
But no, you're just talking about the amount of restock.
Yeah, just mentioning that like it's this. The 11th to the 18th is going to be like so many shipments coming in, probably. Not just new product, but also a lot of restock product. Because for us as a store, like the 18th to the 25th is probably going to be our heaviest traffic as far as the holiday shopping goes. So like it's been pretty decent so far, I think, anecdotally, just people coming in looking for stuff and some online sales. But the last like 5 to 7 days before Christmas for brick and mortar stores is, I think, when it's the heaviest.
Yeah. The days of Black Friday through Christmas being one chunk of sales is long gone. The days of Easter being your second busiest holiday sales of the And this upcoming week, I think, is the last week we'll get heavy online orders because there's no guarantee of shipping.
Yeah, again, like the biggest difference between the 11th and the 18th is a lot of online sales. The 18th to 25th is a lot of local sales because that's the point where people realize I cannot reliably get something shipped out.
Correct.
It may show up in time, it may not. So maybe I'll just go to a local shop and just grab something. And it's a lot of like, I didn't realize I needed to get a gift for this person, so what can I get quickly? Or I need a thing for an office party, and I'm going there tonight. So it's a lot of kind of last minute gift shopping, not necessarily like a huge stack of graphic novels for somebody or for a group of people, but just the like, they like manga or they like Spider-Man or they like this video game. What have you got?
The video game Spider-Man manga. I was very happy with how quickly the post office delivered our international Christmas cards, because we send out a handful of international cards to international stores like Big Bang, like All Star, and to like Gustavo Duarte and
Sure.
friends we have in
International
different countries.
friends.
Yeah. So I usually send those out immediately once the cards are done. And when I was in Ireland, they had already gotten, Big Bang already got their card. It was already in their store, which I thought it wouldn't arrive until after I was there.
Yeah.
And then just a day or so ago, All Star Comics in Melbourne got theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I feel like they wouldn't get theirs until February.
Really?
And we're not doing any fancy shipping, just first class international, which is like 3 stamps.
Yeah.
Also, I sent a handful of postcards out from Dublin, and one of them arrived today, so it's a little less than 2 weeks for them to get.
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I had to. It was easy to find postcards, but then I had to go to an actual post office in Ireland to get international postcard stamps.
Oh, okay.
And then, because I talked to the front desk, I'm like, "Do you mail things here?" And they said only if it's stamped.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, well, I'm going to get stamps, so I gave them Friday night when I was there. I gave the front desk, and then I assume they went out Saturday, and yeah, well, they started showing up now. So
Nice.
less than 2 weeks to get postcards delivered from Ireland.
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's coming across an ocean, you know.
An entire ocean.
Goes from the basement spinner rack I got it in that Irish gift shop to the hotel employee to a postal person, and then assuming several other postal people, and here it is.
Yeah.
What a wondrous world we live in.
It's amazing. Like that's why you're so happy all the time.
I have no commentary.
Too busy smiling.
I thought about it long and hard.
Too busy
and
smiling.
thought, there's nothing I can say in that regard. Dal, we're just about at the point in the year where I would like everyone to pick their favorite graphic novel or novels
Oh gosh.
of the year. I'm not putting you on the spot. But,
No, I know. I didn't think you were,
But
because you know better than that.
it could be one, or it could be like last year. You're like, this one, and here's runners up.
Actually, I think
runners
I
up-
know what it is. I know
Yeah.
what mine is now.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want me to say it, or should I hold off?
You can mime it to me, so I wouldn't be able to guess it unless you physically own it. So, yeah, I think, ironically, I don't own what I think is going to be mine,
Wow.
but I do need to do other research because I forget what stuff comes out when and what
Yeah,
I've
there's
read.
been times in years past where you've asked me to do that, and I've literally had to go through the new release list for the entire year to be like, what did I like? What do I consider my favorite book of the year? And look, I mean, given more time, maybe there'd be like 3 other things I could think of instead, but I don't know. First thought, best thought.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. And that's a good thought, which is why I'm going to steal it and do my graphic first. Be
You
like, oh,
son of a-
Dal,
God.
how dare you? The thing is, I like mine a lot, except I don't think it ended the way I wanted it to, which has been a lot of books recently.
Did this just come out this week in a collected format?
No,
Okay.
but it's been on the front table.
I know that was a book
For
that
a while.
you had specifically told multiple people about the ending to talk about how much you didn't like it.
Oh, man. So it's something that just came out this week collected.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because I remember you liked it a lot to begin with.
Yeah.
And then you did not like it a lot at the ending.
That's, it really went in a different direction than I thought.
It was a different genre than you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Like Twin Peaks. That was not.
Thought it was going to be a comedy. Turned out to be a
What?
weird psychological mystery.
Yeah, no, mine is a mystery
Mhm.
or a horror book. I don't know how to describe it. I can't even mime it.
I think I know which one it is. I'm
like,
surprised that
I'm
that
doing I'm doing this.
I don't. That's maybe it's not the right
Okay.
was.
Uh,
We'll talk about it afterwards.
No, it's literally because I got the first word wrong.
Uh-huh.
It's not that. It's we're playing charades and I'm doing a bad job.
Yeah, I mean, I could say what I think it is, but I don't know if that's gonna that defeats the
Mine,
purpose.
what you think it is.
I can't. I don't know.
See, it's hard. I don't think so.
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what's on the front table. This is fun. This is good podcasting.
Yeah, it's
People
good.
love
It's
it.
good audio content.
I was miming the Ribbon Queen because I thought Patrick was thinking about the Ribbon Queen.
Okay.
Because I knew you really liked that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I did kind of go a different way.
Yeah. Okay.
And my miming was I was miming tying a ribbon.
Yeah, and I caught that right away, but I couldn't get I was thinking tie.
Yeah.
Or bow.
Because I don't know how you would mime a ribbon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you tie a ribbon. That's
No,
about all
that's
you
good.
can do with it.
That's real good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe it is Ribbon Queen now.
The one I had picked that I showed you, I almost wasn't going to pick because I'm like, it is so frequently unavailable.
Yeah.
This past
really?
year, multiple times that
Oh,
we've been
wow.
on back order with it. And it just came back in, which is why I'm like, fine, I would pick it because I know we have a few copies in the store. But it's a book that when the single issues were coming out, I'm like, this is going to be the collection of this. I don't buy softcover collections of just about anything.
Correct.
Because I would always prefer a more longer lasting version of it. Like a hardcover or something oversized or even slipcased. Like I don't have any of the single Coda volumes, but I've got the Coda book 1 hardcover. I didn't buy the Extremity trades, but I bought the Extremity Deluxe Edition all in one hardcover. But this one book, I'm like, this arc is so good, I don't need to wait for a larger collection with other stories in it. This arc alone is perfect.
There's things that came out that I really love, and in the same context of what you're talking about, like from just last week, the Damned Deluxe Omnibus Edition, which is all 3 trades plus an issue that never got printed.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't be my favorite book of the year because technically it's not from the year, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, there's stuff I adore that came out in a larger version this year, like the Jana all-in-one hardcover edition.
Yeah.
I think was this year.
For me, it's the new printing of the all-in-one Fatale collection.
Yeah. And like those
Or
books are gorgeous, but are they my favorite book of the year? Like I haven't even opened the Jana hardcover, even though I'm like, yay, it came out.
The Parker all-in-one edition.
Yeah.
The really fancy hardcover of Good Asian, things like that.
Yeah, and like I'll be honest with you, like some of it I have to kind of recalibrate off of like what do I personally love versus what is a book I think a lot of people would want to buy. Like there's stuff that I love that it's like, yeah, but I love it for different dumb reasons, and I don't think a lot of people would give a shit about those reasons. So like,
what I mean,
so I can pick another book that I would love, but one that has more crossover appeal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't necessarily pick like, oh, like for example, I'm not going to say that my favorite book of the year is like the DC Finest Legion of Superheroes 1968 to 1974 collection. I was super glad they printed that and I bought it, but like I don't think that matters to a lot of people, and I don't think it's going to matter if you don't care about the Legion of Superheroes already.
I didn't know you bought that.
It's right there. But yeah, something else that is more recent or something else that I know a lot of people already love that more people could love in a collected format, that's my pick.
Like the History of Blizzard Entertainment, Play Nice hardcover.
I did read that book from cover to cover. Jason Schreier is a very good journalist who writes about video games in a very interesting way. He's 3 for 3 on books I bought from him. Unfortunately, he is also a reporter for Bloomberg, which has a very, very high subscription paywall threshold.
Oh.
Because they assume that you are not just someone who cares about video game news and wants to read about that from a good writer. They assume that you are a business.
And care about financial news.
Care about financial news. So even getting just the like video game newsletters is like $15 a month or something. It's like, that's more than I want to pay. If Jason Schreier just did like a Defector style, his own website or a Substack or something, I think the top amount I would pay a month just for him, assuming that there were at least one post a day,
$5.
I would do $10 a month.
Okay.
It's $2.50 a week. If I'm getting like 5 posts a week, I feel like that's a good value for how much time I would spend reading it. But yeah, I'm not going to do like $15 for like multiple writers I don't care about.
That's fair.
Doing a lot more like financial oriented games reporting. I don't care that much.
Well, hopefully you'd care. You listener, have cared about this very episode of Contest of Challengers. We hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. If you celebrate, we're hoping you're having a wonderful December. Either way.
Or a different month if you use a completely different calendar. I don't know.
That's fair. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.